Okay, I say this in multiple places, but this content analysis project is one of my favorite projects the students complete because you all come up with really cool content creators and you collect really interesting data and you ask really interesting questions. So I'm excited to see what you all do. But first, let's overview the assignment. So the assignment has two major components. There is the content analysis project, which is written for an academic audience. You are writing this to content strategy researchers like me. I do content strategy for faculty professional development here on campus. I run all of the content strategy for the English and World Languages department. I do research projects and content strategy outside of just those two areas where I'm actually in charge of the content strategy. So somebody like me who does work in content strategy, there are also a lot of content strategy professionals, and there's a surprisingly limited amount of research done in this area. So you're writing to all of that, okay? So the focus of the content analysis project is academic. You're going to outline the background, you're going to outline the content creators, you're going to overview the research question, how you collected your data. It needs to have a method section. You're going to include your data, you're going to graph your data, you're going to analyze your data, you're going to draw conclusions from it. So for the content analysis project, you need to use chapter 3 of the textbook. It goes through each of these pieces step by step. It talks about what to do with them. I wrote that chapter for a reason, to support this particular project. So make sure you use that chapter, you go through each of the steps, and you work step by step. The good news, we go step by step with you completing it and submitting it to me, so you get regular feedback for the duration of this particular project. But I just want you to real focused, the content analysis project is an academic audience. You are adding to ongoing conversations about content strategy, and it should be a very lengthy, multi-page, include methods, include background information, include your research question, include all of the data, have the data graphed, have images included, have a ton of analysis, draw conclusions, and make recommendations for how we should understand and study content strategy in the future. All of that coming from the example of your 3 content creators. So you've selected 3 content creators, you've done a rich analysis on all of them, and then you're reporting on that to an academic audience. Connected to that is the How to Write guide. So I want you to take the claim that you're making, the conclusions that you're drawing from your content analysis project, and you're going to convey those conclusions to content creators. This one is going to be short, but it has to be very contextualized so that the content creators believe that you can offer them something. They're busy creating content. You need to get information to them quickly. You need to demonstrate from the very beginning with the entire guide that you understand where they're at, what kind of time they have, what they need to know, why they need to know that information. And then you are going to include samples that demonstrate the content strategy that you are recommending to those content creators. Okay, so the How to Write guide audience is the content creators that you have studied. What is it that they need to know so that they can perform better? And then you're going to show them examples of that. Okay, so I'm going to caveat that because there are 2 parts to the How to Write guide. One is the How to Write guide, and 2 are your sample content pieces. Your content needs to look like, to the best of your ability, you are not being graded on, I mean, look at my videos. I have terrible stuff in the background. You're not being graded on this piece. The content creators have a lot more available to them than what you have. What you're being graded on is, have you made your best effort to demonstrate what's going on in that particular project? So I'm saying all the time, I try to keep these videos short. I'm at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. I am epically failing, and I recognize it. So I have content strategy work to do to keep the video shorter so that I can get more information more effectively to my student audience. So that's what you're trying to do with the How to Write guide. You want it to be short, you want it to be to the point, and you want it to have good information that they don't already have. But what you don't want to do, because these are existing content creators, don't tell them how to create an account. Do not tell them how to create an account. They already have them. What you want to do is focus on content strategy. What are the conclusions that you've drawn, and what can that tell them about content strategy? They don't want to know your whole research project. They don't have time for that. They're busy creating content. You need to distill the information and develop your expertise quickly and simply so that they believe the conclusions that you are offering, so that they can make positive changes to their content strategy approaches. And then you're going to show them samples of that with your sample content. Okay, so the How to Write guide is Content creator focused, very different audience than your content analysis project, same conclusions. The conclusions from your content analysis project are the ones that you are sharing with the content creators because you've learned something about their content strategy. You did all this work, put it to use for the audience that you've actually been studying. And then it needs to include samples of the content. At least, I'm going to say 3 pieces, but it really depends on what you're following and what you're looking at. If you were following, I know I said earlier, or in my week 8 video, titles. So if you follow titles, then titles, but you're going to want a bunch of them, and why, and analysis, and images going around it, but also short and sweet. If you're talking about something in the theme of the video, then you need a couple of videos to show what that looks like. So what your content looks like is really going to depend on your conclusions, which means it's going to be different for all of you. So the good news, you get to make it up. The bad news, you get to make it up. You got this, okay? So the entire content analysis project, 2 parts. There's an analysis written for an academic audience. There's a how to write guide written for a content creator audience, same content creators you've been following. The connections between these 2 projects, the conclusions that you come to in your analysis project will be the conclusions that you're sharing in a format, in language that is appropriate for your content creator audience. And the how to write guide will also include sample pieces of content. If you have questions about the overall project, let me know. My best piece of advice, use chapter 3. I wrote it to help you with this project. Use what I wrote.